Hi Hinsters, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, welcome too. We are continuing our Moon Watch series, and this time around it's the full moon in Aquarius, as I say, happening around August 2nd officially. Now, the tone for this one is a moon that is hosted by a retrograde Saturn in Pisces. The moon is also translating light from a retrograding Pluto in Capricorn to that retrograding Saturn. So there's this house to house learning and realization and culminating kind of affair or air around this full moon. And the moon will also be making a square to Jupiter in Taurus and a trine with Ceres in Libra. I also wanted to add that the moon is in a secret detriment or even fall, you could say, in Aquarius, and it may be one of the more difficult or challenging full moons for some people. Check out, by the way, my video on the heart seasons, and in that video I talk about the secret rulerships of the sun and the moon. But let's start with the more negative stuff, shall we? Get that out of the way. And as is often quite typical of full moons in Aquarius, we might be feeling very disconnected. That's a typical Aquarius keyword. Disconnected from the rest of the world, but maybe even more especially so because we have the moon stuck between Saturn and Pluto. And although I don't personally consider Pluto to be a malefic, a lot of astrologers do, or Pluto gets treated very much like a malefic. So if you want, you can view it also in that way, that the moon is in a sort of detriment at Aquarius and stuck between these two malefic or maligned planets. So yeah, that does bring this sense of disconnection. In my Leo season video as well, which you should check out, I think I touched on how Leo season can be that lonely summer type of vibe. It can have things like breakups during the summer. It can have kind of people having to work all through the summer or be somehow alone or isolated all through the summer. And I'm also sensing that a lot of people will be kind of like taking huffs and having like outrages about things, all based on like a certain stubbornness or a desire to be contrary. This is like also the person at the party bringing up like a really sober topic and just kind of deflating the atmosphere completely, and maybe sometimes deliberately. Like there's that sense of knowing what the words can do to an atmosphere, to a climate. And this full moon in Aquarius can also bring quiet breakups, or finally deciding to ghost someone, or feeling super ghosted yourself in some sense. There's also a big potential here to rain on our own parade, to be like our own Debbie Downer. Like this is someone who's got all the money, but wants to be like the stingiest Scrooge. Like they won't even buy their wife, their partner, a present. This is like someone who got the girl, but he's deciding for some bizarre reason to busy himself with work or the gym, and something can really get spoiled here or spilt. It's like you're trying to water a plant or the soil, but you direct the water the wrong way, or you are dropping or smashing the container, and it all kind of just gets wasted and absorbed on the wayside. That kind of thing can happen with a full moon in Aquarius. And this particular full moon in Aquarius will also bring, for some, this like finally type of conversation or dynamic, especially if it involves talking about what happened in the past, as the moon is, as I said, stuck here in between two planets, but also those two planets are retrograde, and the moon itself, she's a very reflective very reflective goddess planet, and so there's a lot of this potential here to revisit the past, maybe through some big argument or through some bursting of something off the chest, and also, not only that, but the moon, as always in a full moon, is opposing the sun, and the sun is this big, bright, shining god, and like there's nowhere for the moon to hide here. And this is in terms for some people of a certain truth or reality being as clear as day. Now, whether or not it gets addressed around this full moon maybe doesn't matter, because even if it doesn't get addressed, there's this internal sense of it being as clear as day, and it might just really isolate the person who knows what needs to be said or done but doesn't do it. That kind of thing can crop up. This is also a prime time to, yes, as I said, kind of get something off our chests, and being of like an Aquarian ilk, it can have that King of Swords sort of certitude, and people can kind of be swooping on each other with the things that they want to say. This is kind of like very dominating owls swooping down. And this full moon Aquarius also, this particular time around this year, could bring water related problems, because we have Saturn in Pisces as well hosting this full moon. And this can bring things like not drinking enough water. I mentioned this, I think, in my Leo season video. As is often the case in Leo season, we forget to hydrate, literally. And so there can be problems of not drinking enough water, or being too much in the damp somehow, or in the dregs. That's also what I get for some people, like just in the dregs, or ending up also kind of miring ourselves, our spirit, in miseries, different miseries, in a miserable circle of people as well. Make sure you're kind of not miring yourself too much in that, because it can really be highlighted, made apparent around this full moon. Also, things like lung related issues, getting really phlegmy or something like that. And there will be floods as well, and intense kind of emotional outbursts highlighted here. But in this quite fixed Leo season, some of these outbursts, they really do kind of fall on deaf ears, and it really is kind of like a Crimea River type of thing for some people in some situations. And that can further lead people to feel like isolated, or feel like they need to really throw the towel in some sense, and just pack their bags and go, kind of thing. That all that sort of stuff can crop up. Now, anyway, for the more positive stuff, I guess this full moon in Aquarius is going to bring people to this space of toasting to the uniqueness of the self. I've got this image of like a penthouse bish. She's like made it. She's rolling in her millions in her royal abode. She's happily celebrating on her own, or she's celebrating her own outstanding achievements. Aquarius energy is so good for learning how to be happy on our own, or learning how to do things for ourselves. There's probably going to be some filthy rich kind of flaunting as well. This is Leo season after all. And also this is basically this is a season that is in many ways simply a more amped up and less apologetic and more expressive Cancer season. It's like Cancer season part 2 in some ways. And this full moon in Aquarius can also bring people finally able to say, I have enough, or I earn enough, or I can save money. And people will finally also be able to feed their children. Or perhaps there's some like big boost or praise when it comes to your kids. Like kids, by the way, including your pets, your plants, and other non-human entities that you consider to be your babies, by the way. And also, I think this full moon will allow for private and solitary culminations. And I mean this in the positive ways, like it's like not needing to scream or cry about something to the heavens, or not needing to project or show off your achievements, or not needing to get validation from other people, and still being able to be happy or feel secure. I think this full moon can be really useful in those senses. I actually remember one full moon in Aquarius, and this is from my own past, and I actually remember like standing at a bus stop alone at night, and I could see the full moon very close, and very huge and white and round, and just feeling like a sense of isolation, yes, but also a sense of gladness that I was achieving what I wanted to achieve at that particular time. And I just kind of let the moment be a kind of solitary marveling. And that's a very Saturnian thing, Aquarius being ruled by Saturn. But yes, this inner embracing of gratitude and precious memory, whether it's memory making or the rekindling of memories as well with all this retrograde energy. There's also a kind of like private materialism about this. And also, I think this full moon in Aquarius will be great for ripping off the plaster kind of thing, or the band-aid, for some of us, where there needs to be like an uncomfortable action, but it's going to be okay. Like the healing is already almost done all the way, or you've already kind of learned a particular lesson or cracked something. There's just maybe one or two things that you need to do. It's like, I don't know, close that account before you leave the country, or I don't know, just examples. Finally, I do think that this full moon will have some people breathing like a sigh of relief, because they are now understanding the rules of the game. They understand the terms and the conditions that they signed up for spiritually. There's an agreement here of spiritual rituals, of like partaking in spiritual rituals and contracts, and again, this can feel very removed or be very deeply private, yet it's pretty marvelous nonetheless to those for whom this resonates. So yeah, I'm wishing you all a great full moon. Do let us know in the comments where you have Aquarius in your birth chart, and let's discuss it. Have a great Leo season too, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.